Islands of Adventure is one of the 2 theme parks located at Universal Orlando Resort. It opened in 1999 right next to the original Universal Studios Florida. In addition to City Walk, really creating this resort atmosphere, you can walk from one theme park to another. It's highly encouraged that you get a ticket that allows you to visit both parks in the same day. And I think as a whole, this is really what put Universal on the map. Islands of Adventure is a beautiful park with some of the best theming that you'll find in the world. When you enter Islands of Adventure, you'll find 7 different islands, all located around a lake in the center. Those islands are Port of Entry, Marvel Superhero Island, Toon Lagoon, Jurassic Park, the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, Lost Continent, and Seuss Landing. In this review, I'm going to be taking a look at each of these different areas, discuss the best things about them, what attractions you're going to want to hit, as well as some of the things I'd like to see improved. As a whole, though, Islands of Adventure is a fantastic park. It is one of my favorite parks I've ever been to, but even it's not perfect, and there are certainly things that I would love to see improved in the future. But before I dive in, I quickly want to mention that I have a lot of sentimental attachment to this park. I remember when I was younger, before I was even a roller coaster enthusiast, wanting to go here because I was such a big Harry Potter fan. And I had also heard about this ride called Dueling Dragons that just looks so cool, and I wanted to experience it so bad. And I was thrilled that I got to experience it when it dueled. And it was at my first visit to Islands of Adventure where I rode the Incredible Hulk roller coaster, and that's what broke my fear of roller coasters and really what got me into wanting to travel around the world experiencing them all. It's also crazy to think back to that time and how much the park has changed since then. Dueling Dragons is now gone. We got Hagrid's, Velocicoaster's on the way. Skull Island has been added. All of these fantastic changes that I feel that really have made Islands of Adventure the park to do at Universal Orlando Resort. Typically, if I do a day at Universal, I spend more time here than at Universal Studios Florida. And especially with how much investment they've put into this park, Islands feels really stacked. I really think that they need to turn their attention to Universal Studios Florida for some of their next major attractions. If you're a fan of thrill rides, this might be the best park in Orlando for you. And they have a great collection of roller coasters. The Incredible Hulk coaster is the signature attraction here. I think once Velocicoaster opens, that'll be considered by many the best attraction in the park, the best roller coaster there. But I'd say this is by far the most photographed ride in the park. As of right now, my favorite roller coaster there is Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure, a ride that is not as thrilling, but provides such an incredible ride experience, some of the best theming out there. It's just unmatched. I have a whole review of it on my channel. I definitely encourage you to go give that a watch. But you can also find some family coasters here, such as Flight of the Hippogriff and Pterodon Flyers. Pterodon Flyers, though, is an attraction that I still have yet to ride because you need a kid to experience it. But I think the whole point with this is that no matter what kind of ride you're looking for, you're going to be able to find something here that you'll enjoy. So let's get into some of these areas and discuss the various attractions that you'll find there. First up is Port of Entry. Now, this land does not include any attractions. It is exactly what it sounds like. This is the first area that you walk through when you enter Islands of Adventure. You got that signature lighthouse to your left when you're crossing over the bridge from City Walk into Islands. Beautiful photo op, and right away, you're immediately greeted with theming. It's almost kind of a Mediterranean look. You'll see the stone bridge going across the midway with the words, "The adventure begins," written across. I mean, what a way to kick off your day at the park. Totally gets you pumped up. You're excited for what is to come. I think by nature, Port of Entry wasn't really designed for guests to be spending a lot of time there. I think, frankly, if you're spending a lot of time in Port of Entry, it's probably because you're in the gift shops. The architecture is absolutely gorgeous. There's lots of little nooks and crannies, different details that I love. As a whole, I think it's a brilliant design, and you can even see some of the influence it's had on other amusement parks around the world. Toverland in the Netherlands recently redid their front entrance, and you can definitely see how it has some of the similarities to Port of Entry at Islands of Adventure. So from here, you get your grand vista overlook of this massive lake. Straight across, you can see Jurassic Park, Hogwarts Castle. If you move to the left, you have Marvel Superhero Island. If you move to the right, you have Seuss Landing. For this, we're going to go clockwise around the park, starting things off with Marvel Superhero Island, and this land was designed to feel straight out of a comic book. And what's so amazing about this is that this land was designed and built well before any of these huge Marvel movies really took off. At the time, Marvel comics weren't as huge as they are now. But as a result, I almost wonder if this land is as relevant as it used to be, because now when people think of Marvel, they think of the movies. And it is very clear that this land is not patterned after any of the movies. Because of their specific licensing deal with Disney, they have specifically focused on the comic book era superheroes. That's why if you see Captain America walking around, he does not look like Chris Evans wearing the Captain America suit that he does in the films. It's actually because of this land that Walt Disney World will not be getting an Avengers campus. If Disney wants to put any of the Marvel properties, they have to think outside the box. That's why they're doing rides like Guardians. I think Marvel Superhero Island is a great area. It's got some of the best rides in the park. I just think it's an interesting dynamic because I feel like the comics just aren't as popular as now the movies. A couple of the notable rides here, obviously the Incredible Hulk coaster. Received an awesome upgrade a couple years ago. Now features onboard audio, brand new train design, a killer front entrance. Seriously, one of the best entrances to any attraction anywhere. A little bit ahead, you have the Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man. What a revolutionary ride. Really changed the game for theme park attractions. Still kicking butt. Really, really fun experience. Something that you absolutely have to do when you come to Islands Adventure. I don't care how many times I've done that ride, I will still wait for it. Another notable attraction here is Dr. Doom's Fearfall. It is 2 sets of S&S drop towers, shoots you up to the top, drops you back down. Pretty underwhelming experience in my opinion, although like most rides at Universal, it has a very cool queue. But personally, I think this is a ride worth skipping. I think it's a shame that Universal doesn't have more thrilling flat rides. If they really want to, they could put in a really sick drop tower, theme it all up. It'd be awesome. Dr. Doom, in my opinion, is almost more of a family ride. But I guess, yeah, that gets into one of my main points with Islands Adventure that I love to make. And really just at Universal as a whole, it would be cool if they had a bit more thrilling attractions outside of the roller coasters or the dark rides. I understand why they don't. For something like this, you're really looking for a story-driven experience. Although when I look at places like Fantasialand, specifically a ride like Talocan, that proves that you can have a really cool themed experience with something as simple as a topspin. I mean, imagine Talocan built in Lost Continent. Oh my gosh, that would be one of the most photographed rides in the park. It'd get everyone talking. But let's move on from here to Toon Lagoon. And you know, I'm sorry, this land is cute, but in my opinion, it just feels so outdated. It's home to 2 world-class water rides, absolute soakers, but it features some characters that I just don't know how relevant they are anymore. I think if any themed land at Islands of Adventure is going to be updated, completely rethemed, I think it has to be Toon Lagoon. Absolutely. I would love to see a transformation into something still family-oriented, but just draws people back into this area. For me, Toon Lagoon is literally just a place that I am walking through to get to another area. I know I think it would be awesome if they rethemed it to like Bikini Bottom and SpongeBob, but I guess that kind of runs into some of the same issue of, well, is SpongeBob as relevant as he used to be? Maybe yes, maybe no, but either way, I think he's more relevant than some of the cartoons seen in this area. But that is just me. Next up, we have Jurassic Park. And by far, out of any area at Islands Adventure, this has seen the most change and improvement over the past several years. We've seen Skull Island, Reign of Kong get added. There's a new raptor encounter. Opening up shortly is Jurassic World Velocicoaster. At this point, this area is almost unrecognizable from what it used to be. And that's a good thing. I know there's been some debate of, well, they should have kept these new rides themed to straight Jurassic Park instead of Jurassic World. It's inconsistent. How can you have both Jurassic Park and Jurassic World here? Guys, it doesn't matter. Who cares? It's the same theme. It's just different time periods, whatever. Do I think Jurassic Park River Adventures should get updated to Jurassic World like in Hollywood? Personally, no. I think it's kind of cool that you have a Jurassic World ride in California and then you can go to Florida and experience a different version. Kind of entices people to go to both parks. Although I do think River Adventure is one of the attractions here that could use a little love, even if it's not updating it into Jurassic World. But I do really love the look of the new raptor encounter, and Velocicoaster just looks absolutely incredible. They are always thinking about sight lines. What is something going to look like for the average guest walking around the park? And how they managed to fit this ride in next to the Jurassic Park Discovery Center is brilliant. That they're able to fit in the bottom of this drop to curve around the center of that building so that it keeps the front totally exposed and open. I mean, it's fantastic. The roller coaster literally adds to the view instead of blocking it. Seriously incredible what they're able to do. I can't wait to experience it. Next up is the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. And you talk to anyone that's been a theme park fan in the past 10 years, this was the land that changed everything. This is the reason that theme parks have had to innovate and got them thinking outside the box and really into creating these new immersive experiences. Instead of being a land themed to Harry Potter, you are in Harry Potter. You enter Hogwarts Castle and you are in Hogwarts Castle. So yeah, by far this is the best themed area of Islands of Adventure. If you're a fan of the Harry Potter films like myself, you almost don't even want to leave. It's insane what they did. I highly encourage everyone to really spend some time here. Check out the different shops. Even if you aren't interested in buying anything, just walk around, look inside them. The detail is ridiculous. I also wanted to shout out the frozen butterbeer because that is the greatest thing ever. There's not too many foods or drinks that whenever I go to a theme park, I just have to get, but frozen butterbeer is one of them. I know it's kind of expensive, but trust me, it's worth it. I try to get it every time I go to the park if I can. I also wanted to encourage you to check out this land at night because it is gorgeous. And I'm going to get into this a bit later. I love Islands of Adventure at night. But what they did with the Wizarding World of Harry Potter is just so cool, especially if you go when they're doing one of the different projection shows on Hogwarts Castle. I know depending on when you go, there's a dark arts show. There's a projection where you can see all of the different Hogwarts houses. There's a Christmas show where they project snow onto the castle. It looks like it's really there. It's brilliant. And Forbidden Journey is a fan favorite of mine. I think it is one of the greatest rides ever built. Just the ride system alone is insane. Plus, it's got a great story. It's one of those attractions I've done so many times. I could probably quote it word for word. I mean, one time I went as far as recreating the ride in my house.
Those benches can be a bit dodgy, but we haven't lost anyone yet.
Hey, you lot! Haven't seen a dragon, have you?
We'll nip over to the Quidditch beach. The dragon!
So yeah, I'm a bit of a fan of this ride. But it's not the best ride in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. That belongs to Flight of the Hippogriff. No, I'm kidding. Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure is insane. I mean, at the time this video is being made, it is the most expensive roller coaster ever built. I know a lot of people are sad the Dragon Challenge is gone, but I'm sorry guys, the park is better because of it. Not only does Hagrid fit better, but at the end of the day, it makes their coaster collection more well-rounded. They are able to fit in a ride that is immersive, actually fits in the land, appeals to more people, and is just plain fun. Like, you seriously just walk off that thing with a huge smile on your face. A big reason why you will want to purchase a ticket that includes admission to both parks in one day is because of the Hogwarts Express. This can take you from the back of Islands of Adventure to the back of Universal Studios Florida, dropping you off in Diagon Alley. This might be the most brilliant ride, period, simply because of how much more money it has made them. Before, people were like, well, I'll just get a 2-day ticket, one day at Islands of Adventure, one day at Universal Studios Florida. But no. If you do that, you can't ride the Hogwarts Express. Oh, well, I guess I'll spend a little bit more and do 2 days now where I can go to both parks. That is devious. But you know what? It works, and I don't even feel bad about it because the Hogwarts Express is incredible. So let's move on to the Lost Continent. And this is an interesting area because this is really the only land at Islands of Adventure that is not directly themed to an IP. And it doesn't really have any rides. It's just a cool looking land. They are home to Poseidon's Fury, which is a neat little walkthrough or show. They used to have the Voyage of Sinbad. I remember seeing that when I was a kid and enjoying it. This is also where you can eat at the Mythos restaurant, which anyone at Islands of Adventure will tell you that was like the #1 theme park restaurant in the world or something like that. I think I ate there the first time I went to Islands of Adventure. I don't really remember anything of it, but I really should try that again. But at the end of the day, I will say I'm kind of in the same situation with this land as Toon Lagoon, that it's one of those areas that I just walk through when I'm going from one land to another. It's not really a place I spend a lot of time in. In my opinion, the coolest thing there is that talking fountain that shoots water at you. So it would be cool to see this area get a ride because I actually really do like the theming. I think it's beautiful, but I think there just needs to be a bit more of a draw in order to really want to spend some time here. And finally, we have Seuss Landing. This is the designated kids area. I remember reading somewhere that when they designed this area, they made sure not to include any straight lines because everything in Dr. Seuss's books are all wavy and wonky. And I think they did a brilliant job transferring all of that over into real life. You feel like you're in the land of Dr. Seuss, and I think that's so cool. Again, this isn't really an area that I would spend a lot of time in because I can recognize I'm not the target audience for this land, but I can at least acknowledge it is very well done. It's very cute. It's also an area that I think is great over Christmas time. It translates really well for the holidays. I mean, everyone knows Dr. Seuss is How the Grinch Stole Christmas, and there you can find the Grinch just walking around. Do a little meet and greet, and I think that's just so sweet. I also do recommend at some point try out the Cat in the Hat ride because that's a weird one. I did it once and I was like, this is just so bizarre, but it's kind of fun. So I mean, hey, why not? So that does it for going through each of the different individual areas. A couple broad things I just want to talk about. One thing I love about this park is that there are so many little nooks and crannies for you to walk around and check out. It's not as straightforward as it sometimes feels. There's certainly a discovery aspect to this. Yeah, you have these major pathways where there's just tons of people walking around, but if you really give yourself time to explore the different lands, there's these cool little side paths that sometimes will give you a great view, or maybe an area where you can just take a break, sit down, get away from the crowds. So I really like that they are able to incorporate that in. As a whole, I think one of the best things that Universal does with this park is their dark ride collection. I talked about Forbidden Journey and Spider-Man. Skull Island Reign of Kong is another fantastic experience. I know some people complain about how many screen rides there are, but I really feel like that's more of an issue at Universal Studios Florida. I think all of the screen-based rides at Islands of Adventure are all top-notch. And the other great thing about this is that with almost all of the rides here at Islands of Adventure, you got fast-moving operations. When you see that wait time listed out front, oftentimes it is going to be shorter than what they list. In fact, I'd say almost all of the time, the wait time is shorter than what they list. But if you really want to speed it up, they do have single rider lines for almost everything, and that will get you pretty much directly on. Not every time, but man, that can save you a ton of time. Obviously, they're not really open right now during COVID, but when they eventually bring it back, seriously recommend. I did also want to mention that I'm a big fan of the music in this park. They're always playing music that fits each area, so it's not just generic pop music. This is going to help transition you from one land to the next. It's a very distinct feel. When you're walking through Port of Entry, they have a dedicated soundtrack. Same with like Jurassic Park, Wizarding World of Harry Potter. They're playing the music from the films. So I love that. Something I did want to mention, this is an interesting park if you're bringing a bag, because on any of the dark rides, you can just bring the bag on the ride with you. Stick at the base of your feet is totally fine. But when you get to the high thrill attractions, they have lockers everywhere. And this is why it's kind of interesting, because it used to be free lockers. Now it's free if you're getting a small locker, but you have to pay $2 every time if you're getting a large locker that fit like a backpack. I always go to a theme park with a backpack, and it's unfortunate that they didn't have like a transferable pay one price locker that you could just use all day. I know a lot of parks have started doing that where you pay $6, you can move it from each ride. But here, those small free lockers are really just designed for things like your cell phone, wallet, or car keys. And especially on attractions like Hulk, where they have metal detectors, you are not allowed to have anything in your pockets. And I get why. I mean, they're just really concerned about loose articles. They don't want them flying off, hitting people. Don't be surprised if Velocicoaster has that as well. Maybe not in the exact same way, but maybe something similar. Safety first, but it is definitely unfortunate that like if Hulk has an hour line, yeah, you can't have your phone with you. Can't even take pictures of all the cool theming in the queue. So that is one of those things that I really wish there was a better solution, but I don't know, is what it is, I guess. Last thing I'll really get into is something I mentioned briefly towards the beginning of the video, and that is this park at night. Seriously, nighttime at Islands of Adventure is magical. They really went above and beyond with the lighting. It's not always over the top, but it's strategically placed. That just looks great. My personal favorite lighting package is on Hulk. Hulk looks unbelievable at night. Seriously, can't get over what they did there. I'm a big believer that everyone at some point should experience this place. It is worth a visit to Florida alone to check out Islands of Adventure. But if you can tie it in with Universal Studios Florida and some of the other parks in the Orlando area, then you got a really fantastic trip ahead of you. And what's so great about it is because Universal is constantly updating this park, it's a place I look forward to going back to every year, which is why I can't recommend this place enough. So I'd love to hear from you guys down in the comments below if you agree with the thoughts that I've made in this video. And of course, if you're new to the channel, I'd love if you could subscribe. We do theme park reviews from places all across the world. So thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time.